Hello and welcome to another Best Junglers episode, this one for patch 12.8, and we have had quite a busy month with the resurgence of Wukong, the changes to Rengar, which has of course contorted and shaped the meta around his beautiful cat-like ears and fluffy tail. But it's not just the zoo animals running amok on the jungle tier list, we have a lot of other changes as well and a bit of a shift in the greater meta in high elo specifically. And so we will go over all the best junglers for every single rank, including an infographic version uploaded on my Patreon along with all the coaching signups. But now Ross has a message.
Hello. Have you ever wanted to get buffed like me? Well, that's just not possible because of how glorious I am. But you can still play games and earn through buff.game. Buff is a loyalty program that rewards gamers simply for playing. As an authorized app of Overwolf, you can play and earn points from League of Legends to Valorant and more. And then you take these shiny buff points and you exchange them for Steam credit, Riot Point cards, skins, game keys, and way more. It's as if you get a pentakill level 1 and watch the orbs flow through you. Notice the new skin? All from buff. Much like the Udyr and Hector meta, you do not have to do anything. Just let buff run in the background, grind solo queue like the beast you are, and know that the app will not impede your PC performance. Available for free worldwide. Download buff with a link in the description below to play and earn.
Right, first up on the S tier page is going to be Rengar. We all know it, you've seen the ban rates, you've seen the win rates. However, he is still difficult to play. Yes, they did lower his skill floor, but the skill ceiling remains. The problem with this is most people think, hey look, Rengar's OP, I can play it, and then they try it, and they just look like a kitten playing with a ball of wool. Yes, they did reduce the damage he can do to towers, but in turn they buffed his ability to clear, which honestly, remember when you needed a nuclear scientist and about 18 different scientific calculators to clear him in Season 9 and the start of Season 10? And now it feels like that toddler game where you just have to match the shapes together. I do feel like there's a middle ground we could reach just to stop him getting on the map, because when Rengar gets on the map, when Rengar gets going, when he snowballs with the Bone Tooth, and of course he's using First Strike with Treasure Hunter, all of a sudden he's looking at like a free BF sword later in the game, and in the early game, he gets a serrated Dirk sooner with that Warhammer, maybe he finishes off his Mythic Duskblader Eclipse sooner, maybe he just simply gets the Essence Reaver quicker. All of these things come together that allow him to snowball way quicker than he was able to with the previous skill set, and all of a sudden ADCs are weeping, teams are just banning because they don't want to deal with it, and almost nothing can match up against his lordship. And yes, as I spent my life defending in Season 4, 5, 6, 7 for all time, there are ways to counter Rengar, there are ways to play against Rengar, there are ways to not let him get fed, and I enjoy playing Warwick and Sejuani and Rek'Sai as well, so I don't really have a core issue with that. The problem is, can the person on the enemy team, or can you play those champions to actually deal with him? And in the end, a good Rengar doesn't care. Next up, we have Diana, and do I think she's categorically better than some other champions on this list? No, not really, but if I'm to recommend a jungler with a whole round package that can really take over games, split push, control team fights, combined with your 0-10 Yasuo for the one good thing he's good for, it would be her. There are other champions with high play rates and better win rates, but in terms of total jungle package, fast clears, low risk playstyle, something that can farm fast, gank hard, and basically win all team fights, and also you're an assassin against ADC mains, which is nice. Diana is still essentially the queen of the jungle, even if the data doesn't really represent it, and if people are kind of forgetting how strong she can be. Next up we have Kha'Zix, and again, under the radar, I don't know why. His play rate is good, his ban rate is relatively low for something with such a high pick rate, and his win rate is always good. However, he has been the king of assassins for the longest time. Again, he also benefits, like all assassins, from the hedge fund rune set, which allows you to simply snowball anyway. There is literally nothing more for me to say about this champion other than he's slippery, you destroy junglers 1v1, and with whatever itemization path you choose, with whatever rune set you choose, with whatever evolve path you choose, you can find a package that will allow you to control the jungle for all time. Until you run into Rengar. Next up we have Graves, and that's because Graves is disgusting. Graves has a huge play rate and his win rate does not represent the power that he holds over the map, and that's because most people can't play him properly. I've seen people play Graves for 100 games and have like a 40% win rate, simply because their Graves is good, but their jungling isn't up to the task of applying him to the level he needs in order to succeed. And yes, jungle flow is something I invented years ago. It's a concept, it's a term really. Basically, it's just like being in the zone in the jungle where you see the counter jungling window, where you see the ganking window, you see this angle of approach, your tracking is sublime. You see someone in the river and you don't mind seeing them in the river because you're just gonna go kill them with a quick combo and then carry on about your business. Nothing stops. You are consistently moving, flowing, and sliding around the map, and Graves is the greatest executor of this particular concept. If you can see the jungle in slow motion essentially and see the map flowing in every game you play, you can dominate every single game. Next up, we have my Volibear, the dearest of all bears, and I finally found a video from a high elo player that wasn't me that actually used my build. And so I put it on the gameplay channel, I'll link that below. And of course, I have my live Volibear guide and dedicated coaching companion linked below as well. You can use that to get all the builds and everything you need to know about how to play Volibear. I spent months on this last year and it still holds up, and I updated every single patch, so make sure you check that out or sniff that out. But Volibear's ability to 1v1 almost any jungler, to do a 4-camp clear, 5-camp clear, or simply to 3-camp invade is the reason he is so strong. Whatever you are up against, you can match up. Whatever lane is you need to gank, you can path in that direction. And with your tower diving Juicy Godzilla Giga Bear Moment ultimate, nothing's out of reach. Full on damage, DPS split pushing, you can do that. Some AP because everyone picked full AD as they do, you can do that too. If the bear can make it work, you can have it, unless it's his porridge. Next up, we have My Chemical Romance Viego. Ready to emo all over the map with some aggression, but he's below Volibear because, as all Viego mains know, and all Volibear mains know, we enjoy that matchup. Yes, we do. We love destroying Viegos, but Viego likes destroying your team, getting resets, and winning anyway. Provided you are building Kraken Slayer as a first option, provided you understand that he is not a Divine Sunder abuser anymore, and that's why his win rate is so low, because it is the most purchased item. It is causing his win rate to go down. If everyone just bought the correct items, his win rate would be higher. However, I do understand the safety that comes from this item. However, you don't all need it. And you need to learn how to play Viego in a different way. In a more assassino way, right? You're looking to be the damage dealer, annihilate the Jinx in the backline, get the resets from there. You're not necessarily front to backing without thinking, which is what a lot of people do, which is why they can't pull off Kraken Slayer, even though they should have adapted by now. Hell, even Triforce can be better than Divine Sunderer in the majority of cases. But the one champion you probably didn't expect to see on the S page is the Darkness himself, Nocturne. And I did a gameplay on him on the gameplay channel recently, and I also just put up the coaching video of Nocturne last weekend, and people were going, wait a second, that looks strong. And I said, wait a second, you're right, it is strong. And now the data is saying, I've always been here, I am strong. And it's true, look at him. He has the darkness, the speed, the global ultimate, the split push component, the farming, the fisting, the invading, the dueling. And thanks to Strikebreaker, he has the slow to stick to range targets and not give a shit about what they want. Nocturne is a map bully. Nocturne is a macro flex. Nocturne is what you need when your teams don't know when to fight and when not to fight. So as long as you can control those side waves and that split pressure as well, you have another strategy open to you. Now, Kayn is here because Kayn has always been good this season. I mean, really good skirmisher, people underrated always. You get your orbs with first strike giga fast. At this point, I'm convinced there isn't a combination of items and form that hasn't been yet attempted by Charisma and all the Kayn faithful. But being able to choose your form along with your items and rune set in a much more fluid way compared to the past where you were kind of stuck with it, 3-4 years ago, this is providing a lot of matchup and team comp adaptability for the champion, and of course the meta is perfectly suited for him. Right now onto the A tier page, and we shall return to Monkey. I covered all the changes on the gameplay channel video, again I will link that below as well. He has a huge resurgence in the meta because all he needed apparently was some AP ratio buffs, but also map scaling on his W. This is an absolute game changer, and in that video I almost squeaked with excitement when he stole a dragon. Now you can go around Vision like a human being, ironically. And yes, most people who don't have map scaling just have to walk through it like the chimpanzee that they are. But Wukong is trying to convince us that monkeys are in fact greater than the greatest of apes, and his data and his win rate and his performance at all elos of play is looking mighty fine. The thing is, when you enhance someone's clear just a little bit and you provide the map scaling as a way to get around Vision, to rotate to fights, to gank better, it's just all you really need. And of course they upped that AP damage, so we are seeing some Luden's tech come through from a lot of people. In fact, in the first part of that patch, I saw some Crown of the Shattered Queen as well, just to not die as you go into spinny, and then knock up. So no, he doesn't farm as fast as some of the other meta counterparts, but he still has more than enough in his kit now to take over the game and have a bit more skill expression in terms of how you apply him to your jungling. Right, next up is Shaco, and here he is going to surprise us with some boxes. And then you're going to get feared by them, and then you're going to die because you didn't realize he was building AP. Yes, he is still kind of an S tier jungler, and yes, in my video, this is the best jungler. So technically, most of the S and A tier page would be S's on other tier lists, but I prefer to break down the best junglers for you, not just all the junglers for you. His mind games, his trickery, his uniqueness, his weird pathing, and his ability to take over and contort games to his will in that first 15 is still where it has always been. It's just on the pilot to execute it, and I've said this enough now. I hate the champion and I think he's giga diseased, but I also respect that if I even decided to play him even one time, I would look like my dog when I asked him to sign his signature to a contract. Next up, we have the Dominatrix Sucky Suck. As his bountiful harvest, his W has once more increased its heal percentage against champions. Now, does this affect his farming? No. But did he need help in farming? No. What does he need? Help in ganking, help in fighting, help in pressure, help in actually being able to PvP with people before it becomes, let me hide around this corner and then fear you into your ancestors. So while it doesn't look like much, that's 70%, which is a 20% increase against champions at max rank, which means 2v2s can be even more cringe for the enemy team as they have no idea how you heal that much when you got a full channel up. So obviously use it correctly, you don't do it when the Volibear still has Q, I mean that's on you. But Fiddlestick's win rate with this W increase has brought him back in a bit of a PvP way, but as always, that comes with conditions on you actually being able to play the champion. And on that note, yes, Nidalee is here and I cannot ignore it. Usually I don't put high elo exclusive champions in the first two sections because it's for everyone really, but if you are in gold and you are in platinum and you want to, smurf and climb to diamond, you can do it with Nidalee. I've just had a coaching on Patreon by someone who's gold to plat 4 range and he just dominated. His mechanics were great. It was his jungling that needed honing, but with the jungling and the mechanics, that's a lethal package. The problem is you need to put in the time to clear efficiently and understand all her animation cancels and all her combos and exactly how to play her to switch forms and when to use everything. Watching a bad jungler play, say, Mercy Yi or even a Volibear, it can look funny, but watching a bad jungler play Nidalee is just upsetting. It's not something you want to witness, You look at it, you're like, oof, why don't you just play something else, man? Next up, we have Rek'Sai. She is absolutely rinsing the map with her prowess at this point. There is a glitch and a bug that I will not bring attention to, but don't use it. You will get banned. It's cheating. Have some ethics. And yes, ethics are those things that you have when no one else is looking, so don't come to me with that either. But other than that, your map control is still disgusting, and you're still ganking and taking over in whatever way you can. Make sure you are snowballing, make sure you are abusing ADCs and squishies, and obviously using repeat ganks and unique angles to inflict your wrath. Or wrath if you're from England, but that just doesn't make sense. Zac is here to stay, and Zac is still borderline broken. You can have one formula, one clear path, one counter gank, one lane to gank, and one way of playing and easily get your way to diamond and climb through diamond with Zac in his current state. He is strong, he is low risk, he is high reward. All you need to do is master your ability to engage, peel, target swap, and of course disrupt in team fights. That is easier said than done, and as I've always said, it's what most people suffer at when they play tanks. But if you can get that under your belt, the jungling aspect's pretty easy. You might look at Shyvana's data and go, haha, you see she's not actually OP or super strong and now it's lower. That's because there's certain strong champions that do well against her with really high win rates that compromises her win rate. Don't worry, Shyvana is still giga strong, hugely powerful champion, easily abusable in every single rank. AP, AD, fighter, pseudo tank, drain tank, long range ballistic missile, whatever you want, she can provide. Kindred is basically still here smurfing on solo queue and people are still saying, well, Kindred isn't that great. Kindred's been good for a long time. Kindred's just great in solo queue. The chaos is exactly what they need to thrive, to get marks, to get control over the enemy jungler, to use the wall hop for aggressive clears and unique ganking angles, and that range obviously makes it much easier to execute from that perspective. A variety of build paths that makes the itemization choice on Graves look simple, and one of the most powerfully snowbally champions in the game. If you can execute Kindred, you will climb, I guarantee it. Now for the low elo page, you will see pretty much the same, except I've shifted up the monkey. He is now present. He dominates in low elo solo queue. We have the Nocturne, which is really actually picking people off at an alarming rate at this stage. Volibear is obviously strong. Vi is very useful here as well. And while Warwick is struggling in terms of the greater meta, in low elo, he still has his little nugget of success that he can continue to exploit. And yes, that was a quick section, but let's now jump on up to the high elo page where things are a little different to the general metascape, and that's because Karthus exists, Nidalee exists, and so does Rengar. And these three combined in terms of ban rate, very high. Excellent skill expression for all three of them. Obviously, Karthus' win rate is never really good because people don't really focus on the clears. If you're not getting up by like 254 to 302, what are you doing? Use that advantage to your best ability. If you want to understand how Canyon does it, and how Canyon uses Karthus to absolutely destroy in every aspect of early game jungling, I did a video on the gameplay channel for that as well, so head on over to that channel. But other than that, you have obviously the Viego, Graves, Kayn, Kha'Zix, Diana. Yes, Rek'Sai is great, but honestly, Kha'Zix is a surprising one. 4th highest pick rate, 5th highest pick rate every patch for the last couple of patches. And no, it's not Korea, obviously, but it's also not Brazil like people thought with Ramaz. It's actually EU West and North America really driving this Kha'Zix pick rate. Obviously, there are other great picks like Lily that can work, and Talia, and that she's getting her rework. Oliver's getting her rework, so I'm expecting high elo to shift in the next 2 to 3 patches in terms of what champions really start to control the meta. And if you want to understand how to use these champions to not die, to get 7 CS a minute and 70% KP, click the video in the box on the top right. And if you want to understand how to mind control your ability to LP gain and basically siphon it from the enemy, click the link in the box on the bottom left.